Hi everyone, welcome to the WebX online course on front-end web development. So in this video, we are going to proceed with our personal website where we will be working on the About section. So as you can see, this is the About section. We have some text here and a skill bar here and also a big title of About Me. So let's get started. So this is what you get in the previous section where you should have your home section. If you haven't, make sure you go through the home section video. So here, let's give a comment as well. This is about section. And let's copy this and give it an N so that we know this is in the about section. So let's start with the section tag. And this section tag, let's give it a class of section, and the ID of this is the home section. So in the section, let's give it a div with a class of container so that everything will be scaled in the center of the web page. And then inside the container, we will have h3. This is the title, and the title is about me. And let's give it a class so that we can style it later. Give it a class of subtitle. So after that, we have this part, the text and the skill bar. So let's create a div with a class is about inner. In this about inner, we will create another div again, and this div will store the content, the text. The class is the about content. So this about content basically is just paragraphs where you're writing about yourself. So in this tutorial, I won't write it. I will just copy this thing. It's exactly the same thing, and I will paste this in. So you can change. I have 3 pieces here, 3 paragraphs here. It is up to you to change to 2 paragraphs or 1 paragraph. Write something about yourself here. Alright, after this paragraph, we will create another div. After the about content, let's create another div so that we know that this div is about the skills. So let's give it a class of skills. Okay, in this div, we will have UL, the list, and we will create li tags. And let's give this li tags a class of HTML. You can change this class to the other skills that you have. For example, if you are engineering students, you might want to change this to maybe some engineering software. If you are IT students, you might want to change it to some skills related to you. But here we will just put 3 where we have HTML. We just put the 3 best friends, CSS, change the class, and the last class will be JavaScript. Let's change this to JavaScript. Alright, so we will just save this, and now let's view this in the live server. Okay, let me just close this out, and I will view this open with live server. Yes, it's running. So now you should be able to see this about me, yourself, and 3 of the skills. Of course, you can add more skills, more than 3. That is fine as well. Alright, so let's start by targeting the subtitle. The subtitle will be .subtitle, targeting the class, and we want to have a margin top of 150 pixels so that it have some space from the last section. We will have some space here. Save that, and you can see, yes, it has some space here. And we want to make it bigger, so let's give it a little bit margin of bottom. Before that margin bottom, let's give it a margin bottom of 40 pixels, and we need to align that to the center. Text align into center. Let's give it a font size around 50 pixels, and font weight of 700. So let's view it in the browser. So now the about me section is done. Okay. Now let's target the about inner. We need these two things. In the about inner, we have one div of about content and one div of skills. So what we can do here is target the about inner so that we use display is flex, and we give it justify content space between. So this about inner is the parent element. It is outside there, right? And inside this about inner, there's a div of about content and another div of skills. So this is what we call a parent element, and the element inside it is called the child element. So this two div is the child element to the about inner, and the P is the child element to the about content. So when we flex it, display equals to flex, and we use the justify content. So you can see now it is flexible in left and right side, left hand side here, and this is the right hand side. Okay, let's continue. So now we are targeting the about content. Let's give a padding first. About content. Alright, now you can see that this about content scales takes up of around maybe 80 to 85% of the width, and this one just take a very small space. So we can do that by specifying the max width. Let's make it 50% so that it takes only half, and the other half is for the skill bar. After the about content, then we will style the about content and the P inside there, the paragraphs inside the about content, this one. Let's style this. Let's give it a padding of 0 and 50 pixels. We give it a margin bottom of 25 pixels, font size of 20 pixels, line height, this is how high should the line height be. Let's give it 30 pixels. So we have also text align. Let's justify this one. Justify. So now let's view it in the browser. So now you can see it is justified, and it has a line height of 30. The font size here is 20 pixels. So you can actually increase the line height so that you can see now it has a bigger spacing between the text. So I'll just keep it to 30. Let's target the skills. The skills is here. Let's target this one, skills. So this skills, it will also take a width of 50%, and let's give padding of 0 and 50 pixels. So now the skills is here. If you go to inspect element, you will see the skills take up 50% of the container. It is inside the container, so it will take up 50%, and the other will take up 50%. And you can see the green is the padding. So let's close this. Let's proceed. And we want to do for the li text. And the li text, let's give it a position of relative. So this position of relative is because that we will style the skills bar later on. So just bear with me. List style none. We don't want the dot here, so let's use list style is none. Let's give it a little bit of margin, 60 pixels and 0, and we will give a font weight of 700. And last thing we can use is text transform. A text transform, we use uppercase, and you can see all the text is uppercase now, even though in the HTML we didn't use uppercase here for JavaScript, as you can see. But if we use the style to uppercase, now JavaScript is all uppercase. Okay, Now we use .skills li tag, and we will add a pseudo element here is before. So before actually means we need to input something before this skills li. So let's do this. So before that, we need to input a content. Actually, we don't need any content, so just leave it blank. Leave it blank. The position, we want to use position of absolute position. And the top will be, we use calculate 100% plus 10 pixels, so that there's some space there, and left is 0. We want the width to be 100%, the height to be 15 pixels, and we want to give it a background color. Background color we will be using RGBA. So the color code I'll use here is 54, 126, 233, and 0.5. 0.5 means 50% transparency. And let's give a border radius so that it can be, so that if we have a border radius, it will be rounded, as you can see here. Okay, looks nice. And we will copy this whole thing, copy it, paste it, and we change this to after. Let's change this to after. So when we change this to after, we want to delete this one, change the width to 0. Why we need to change to 0 is that we will manually add the width later on. So what this means, when we set position to relative, means that we want these li tags to be relative to the original position, and this absolute will be relative to this element. So now when absolute, we need to give a top attribute, means that in top they have a spacing, so it tops down. If you can see, if I remove this top, let's say I put this as 0, save it, you will see it moves up. So I will give a top spacing so that it will go down a little bit, down of the HTML. It will be at the bottom of CSS and the bottom of JavaScript. So let's undo that thing, save it, and now it is there. So this is the color below the skills bar, and now we need to input the skills here. So how do we do that? It's very easy. Let's go to CSS here, and we use .skills li.html. Make sure that the dot is without space, .html, and after, because we want to change for HTML only. So we can just add the width here. With, for example, you are confident that you are 90% mastering HTML, so you can just put a width of HTML, and then let's change this to CSS, and the last one to JavaScript, JS. So let me change, I will just use 90, 80, and 70. Of course, this one you can change based on your skill set. And if we see here, now you can see that this is 90, 80, and 70%. So for this one, we do not want this to be 0.5 anymore. The top one, we want it to be, we have an alpha of 1. Alpha of 1 means this is not transparent. When we save it, now you can see, yes, this is not transparent, but this is 50% transparent. And if you see this, we have a border box here, we have a box here, and then we have some shadow beside it, right? So this one, actually we can just use back the shadow that we created for the profile picture. So let's go back to the HTML code. Inside the HTML code, when we go to the skills, let's give it the shadow dot class, save it, and now you can see, yes, it has the shadow. Don't worry that if there's no space below this, we will solve it later on in the next video. So that's it about in this video. If you have any question, please drop your comment inside the YouTube channel, or drop your questions inside our Discord community, and we will try to solve it for you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.